Do you ever feel split? Like there's a part of you that wants success, but then there's a part of you that just doesn't. And I know that might sound like the start of a really generic horoscope, but hear me out. I'm talking about an aversion to success, when things start to go your way and there's just still this inner conflict in you that you just cannot reconcile with. That conflict is going to be the basis of this video. It's about the fear of success and how it might be subconsciously stifling your potential. In this video, I'm going to talk about why we have that fear of success, some healthy coping mechanisms, some not so healthy coping mechanisms that I think still work, the relationship between shallow and deep success, and I'll finish with the journaling exercise. But first, a quick story. Why am I talking about this? Well, in September, I experienced success, I guess. It wasn't crazy, but it was mine. In a 10-day period, my animation studio, we finished our animated pilot. My channel here hit 500,000 subs, which was my stretch goal for the year, so thank you. It's wild. And then my book came out. People started reading it, and I got the messages, the DMs, the emails, and the book reviews, and people were telling me that they really enjoyed it. In any case, I'd experienced more success than I expected, and it was lovely. But it led to a crash, a huge crash, which made me feel like an imposter for writing a book about mental clarity. I got so unmotivated. I didn't write back to any email, any DM. I started drinking a little bit, which is really bad because I am meant to be sober. I crashed. That's it. That's the truth. But now that this dip has played its course, I've found that on the other side, I've got that nice post-crash growth that we all know and love. And from that, I've processed a few things and I've got some insights, and I've put them together to make this video. The first insight is the distinction between shallow success and deep success. Deep success is the real stuff. It's the connection to other people, it's growth, it's self-love, it's love for other people, you know, the stuff that we're actually meant to be chasing. Shallow success, on the other hand, is money, it's power, it's recognition, fame, it's attention, all the stuff that we're not meant to be chasing, but it feels kind of good when we do for a little bit. It's like a sugar hit and you get it and then you crash. Yeah, that. But even though they're different, I found that I approach them similarly. And why this is cool is because you can get a really nice insight into yourself. It's a bit easier to examine our relationship to money or to recognition for our work, and then take those insights and use them for the deep stuff, the actual fulfilling stuff that will last you your whole life. So that's kind of the format that this video is going to take. Starting with, why do we fear success? Reason 1, more to gain means more to lose. The more stuff you have, the more stuff you can lose, which feels like a really obvious concept, but when I came across it for the first time about 5 years ago, it just wasn't. I was listening to this podcast where people were talking about money stories, which is basically how your childhood impacts your relationship to money as an adult. And they use this throwaway example about people who would spend every dollar that came into their bank account because if they had money, it meant that they could lose money, and the loss of that money was more pain than not having any money in the first place. And I was like, oh, I think that's me. And I tied it back to my childhood because when I was 15, my family went through a pretty bad financial rough patch. We ended up not having any money. The house got repossessed by the bank and my parents ended up getting a divorce from all the stress. And I left not thinking that it would have any impact on me, as a child often does. And turns out it does. And at 25, I was spending every single dollar I had on things like vans or plane tickets or MDMA. Because on some level, having money meant you could lose money, which meant I might have to relive the pain of my teenage years. So more success for me on some level meant pain. Reason 2, it protects your identity. You might have formed an identity long ago, maybe you were bullied, maybe you weren't the firstborn sibling, but you have this idea that you are the underdog or the loser. And then when you do get success, the tangible evidence of who you are is in conflict with the person that you think you are. Uh-oh. Battle bots. Here we have the option to either unpack what's going on and move past it, or, you know, protect our identity and sabotage ourselves. Reason 3, you're worried people won't have sympathy for you. So you see this a lot in people who have a pattern of associating getting love with getting rescued. People who put themselves into positions where they attract sympathy or positions of victim status in order to get love. And there is absolutely no shame in that. It's just a normal thing that can happen to so many people. But the negative repercussions are when you do start getting success, on some level it means that you will stop getting that love that you have gotten through this pattern your whole life. Reason 4, it doesn't make sense culturally. If you're Australian and you're watching this, you know exactly what I'm about to say, but in Australia, we don't like people who are successful. It's weird, man. I do personally on a personal level, but culturally it's just not celebrated. Over here it's so common we give it a name. It's called tall poppy syndrome. It's the idea that if you get too tall, too big for your boots, you get cut down. It's weird, man. I'm not crazy about it. Reason 5, it increases your likelihood of getting hated. So it doesn't matter who you are, 5% of people are gonna hate your guts. So the more people you know, the more people are gonna hate you, right? And I think consciously or not, we all have this equation. Let's say you're trying to get your art out into the world. You might have an equation that looks like success equals more people seeing my art, which equals more people loving my art, which equals more people hating my art. And your brain might just take out all those middle bits. And so now we have success equals people hating my art. And if that is a thought that's ticking away in the back of your head, then yeah, it doesn't make any reason to chase success. Reason 6, you're scared you just might not be that good. This is the fear that your absolute best might not be good enough to compete. And so instead of trying our absolute best and realizing the actual consequences of it, we try 50%. We only try at half effort. This way, if our 50% is successful, we get to tell ourselves a little lie. We get to be like, oh man, and that's only half my effort. Imagine if I gave it everything. And if we're not successful, it's kind of like insurance, because you're like, I didn't even try that hard. But underneath that is the fear that our best just isn't good enough, which is super duper normal, for the record. So those are fears of success that I notice within myself. And if you're nodding along and you're like, dude, yes, then I have to assume, as one must do in this medium, that your next question is, what do I do about it? Tell me, yellow hat man, what do I do? Fix me, bro. Do it. And at this point, I'd usually say, I'm not here to fix anyone, I'm just here to articulate my own journey, but let's give it a shot. These are 5 strategies that I've started using within myself, and hopefully they can work for you. Strategy 1, label it. When it comes to the matters that are going on in our head, I find that the fastest route to mental clarity is honestly just labeling stuff. Just understanding that what's going on in our head has a term because it makes you feel like other people are going through it, and that it's just not that scary. Strategy 2, articulate the timeline. So this is about noticing those deadlines that have no meaning and questioning them. Things like, I need $1 million by 30. Do ya? Does anyone? I don't know, dude. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's probably not worth feeling shit about though. Strategy 3, push through for someone else's sake, not your own. This is a really cool one because it hijacks that sense of nobility that I think a lot of us have, where I'm like, I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for someone else. I'm a good person. And it's kind of like this high that you get when you recognize altruism within yourself. But what this involves is saying that your goals aren't for you. So let's say you're a musician and you're trying to finish an album and it's just really, really hard. You might say, I'm not finishing this album for me, I'm doing it for my mum. I'm doing it so that she can be proud. Or I'm doing it for my future kids, or I'm doing it for my partner. Something like that. It doesn't work for everybody, but I don't know, works for me. Strategy 4. Reconnect with what got you excited in the first place. This is getting back to the initial spark, the thing that makes you go, oh, doing that would be pretty sick. I find I get this anytime I watch a new cartoon or anytime I watch obscure animation. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty into this, eh? Basically, fill up your cup, your inspiration cup, creatively speaking. You know what I'm talking about. Strategy 5, remove the need to be successful. So you've got the need to be successful and you've got the success itself, right? And so theoretically, when you get that, your needs are met and you're satiated and everything's good. But when you really look at this equation, we're focusing everything on the success itself and not on the need. You can actually address this first off. And if we kill the need, then we don't need the thing that we're chasing. And theoretically, we end up at the same place, internally satisfied. Now that's pretty high concept, and it's also not that realistic to assume that we can just do it. It's like telling someone to cheer up. They're like, oh,
my goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that?
But I want to explore it just a little bit deeper. So a few years ago, I was listening to this podcast with this guy, Kyle Cease, who was the dude from Not Another Teen Movie, who's now a guru. It's a whole thing. Anyway, in this podcast, he was talking about as soon as you kill the desire to desperately have something, that is when you can get the thing. And at first I was like, man, it sounds a little bit like The Secret, and I'm a little bit skeptical, but I heard him out and he ended up blowing my mind. What he was talking about was desperate energy versus relaxed energy. And it made sense to me actually in this context, in the context of YouTube, because anytime that I feel like a video has to pop for some reason, I will get on camera and I'll have this desperate energy. I'm like, okay, every single word needs to be perfect. Hi. Fuck, no, that's not right. It's not hi. And I'll beat myself up for saying hi wrong, and then the video just sucks. But when I look at all the videos that have really resonated with people, it's all the stuff that I've thought, man, I don't really care if this goes well or not. I just want to get the message across. It's relaxed energy. Now that's a great insight, but how do you actually action that? How do you tangibly create relaxed energy within yourself? Because it's not like I can be like, yeah, just be more relaxed. And you're like,
why didn't I think of that?
No, here's how I actually do it. I give myself a plan B. I know that sounds really basic, but what I do, I'm like, okay, if this doesn't work out, I'll move to Guatemala, start a permaculture farm, just live off the land and chill. And then I'm like, man, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I don't really need this, but I'll get on camera anyway. And I feel relaxed, and then the energy works for me. Hope that one made sense. These are the strategies that might have a couple of toxic repercussions if you take them too far. These are the ones which aren't so virtuous, and people often might turn their nose up at them, but they have helped me. And I think it's worth noting that not every solution has to be saintly. Sometimes you can just be a human, a dirty, rotten human. There are only 2 strategies I use here. Unhealthy strategy 1, remove the choice to be unsuccessful. So one thing I've noticed about myself is when I don't have a deadline, I don't work. When I do have a deadline, I do work. Crazy, right? In short, if I have the choice to do nothing, I will take it. So knowing this about myself, I decided to figure out a way to replicate the deadline feeling. I give myself more overheads. So this is things like hiring staff, having an office, having equipment, stuff that I've got to pay for, and if I don't pay for it, I will go bankrupt. It's kind of scary, but I don't know, playing on hard mode now. Other times I'll put out a post that holds me accountable to posting more stuff. And even though it's not real, the discipline I experience is. Unhealthy strategy 2, get revenge success. I've talked about this a couple of times on the channel, and I only use it when I'm in a massive rut and nothing else is working. But I picture all the people who have been mean to me, all the people who ever bullied me, all the people who've ever said I'd never make it. I sound like the intro of a rap song, I know. But I picture them, and I picture their face when they see my face. I think, man, yeah, I got a reason to keep going. This will be fun. And it's dark, it's problematic, and I wouldn't use it more than 10% of the time, but damn, it works. So in this section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the insights that we've learned about our relationship to shallow success and use them for our sense of deep success. So deep success, just to remind you, is that feeling of connection to other people. It's self-love, it's growth, it's all the good stuff. So one insight that I found about me with money was, if I have too much, I'll lose it. And then we ask, all right, what about love? If you have too much, will you lose that? And what I'd usually do at this point would be journal on a question like that and see what you find. But if you want it in a more guided way, these are the questions that I would ask. What do I define as shallow success? What do I define as deep success? Why do I want shallow success? What would shallow success mean for my life? What are the negative repercussions of shallow success? Why am I scared of them? What would happen if they came true? What do I fear most about success? How does this relate to my relationship to deep success? How can I heal? Enjoy. So that's the video. I hope that you got some insight from that. There is a link to this down below. It is out worldwide as of November the 2nd. It's a chaotic guide to mental clarity. Subscribe if you're new. I make videos like this all the time. And other than that, have a gorgeous day. Catch ya.